Yesterday, after launching, only 450 funnels and building 2 sales funnel and conversion teams from scratch in 8-figure businesses. One of them she mentions in the interview, Alicia Conlin-Hurd, is now the co-founder of Persuasion Experience, a funnel and conversion agency that focuses on post-click experience. She helps businesses to increase conversion and scale their ads with the PX funnel system, which uncovers what your target market really wants, how to find your radical differentiator, say that quickly, and also make your competitors irrelevant, and how to create your golden hippo offer to stand out from the sea of boringness. And believe me, this golden hippo offer is a classic that you're going to hear. So what I'll do now is hand you over to Alicia from Persuasion Experience. Welcome, Alicia. Great to have you here.
Hey there, Paul. Excited to be talking to you about everything funnels and conversions today.
Yeah, well, I got to say, when I did a survey recently to our community, the Cloud Consultants Collective, by far marketing came up as number one. And when I talk to most of my clients or ones that are potential clients, they always say, I love referrals. I get a lot of them, but I just don't have consistent leads, and I just don't have that, marketing and sales engine at the front. So that's why I sought you out to have you on, because I know you're a world leader in that. So why don't we sort of kick off with who your ideal clients are and what sort of problems you see, and probably some of them that I just mentioned.
Yes, definitely. So what we do at Persuasion Experience is we really focus on the post-click experience, right? So a lot of people don't have their foundations of marketing set up, and they wonder why they can't scale and they can't get more leads or clients. And so this is target market. This is understanding those target market, in their words, how they do it. So going into a big problem, especially with these really techie B2B SaaS companies, which we work with a lot. They are really, really smart. They have the curse of knowledge, but then they try to describe what they do to the target market in their own words and not their target market. So we work with these high ticket clients that are usually in B2B sales. They have really ambitious growth goals, but they need to create a predictable, scalable lead generation machine to help them get there. As you said earlier, they usually have an over-reliance on referrals, and they've just been trying random stuff. They're throwing tactics at the wall. Nothing's working, inverted commas, right? So we help them to set up that game plan so that they can start bringing in on inbound those highly qualified, persuaded leads. And then there's a lot of other problems they have, but maybe we'll unpack that naturally in the call so I don't monologue and rant about the problems.
No, look, that's perfect. And yeah, I think it's, I myself so often have said to, someone helping with my marketing, I know my stuff. I know I can help this person, but it just seems like I can never put in a format that makes it easy for them to buy, right? But, I look at my website and I go, oh God, it's not me. Or I'll have a great conversation with someone and then I think, how do I then put that through my website and make those changes? So, I'm sure you've come across that a lot, but when people come to you and they say that, how do you break it down? Like, how do you make that process of getting the natural language, like you said, of the client more into the collateral and the marketing that your clients are doing?
Yeah. And so for anyone listening, because everyone kind of feels a bit bad about themselves when they can't do their own marketing, right? It's really hard to be objective about your own marketing because you're just so knowledgeable and smart about what you do. So we've worked with 450 different clients, and this is everything from startup, scale up, different SaaS brands, all the way to billion-dollar brands like Wayflyer and Linktree. And everyone has the same problems. And that's why they bring in someone externally to help them with this. And so the easiest way, especially when I'm working with my techie clients, is to remember that marketing is just inputs and outputs, right? Garbage in, garbage out. So the very first input that we work on to getting right is your target market. And it's kind of the unsexy side, especially because if you're in SaaS, you're really obsessed with the features because you put all your heart and soul into this product and creating these features. But we often have to say, people can rip off your product. That's not what's unique. What's going to build a competitive force field around it is the psychology, not the technology, and really understanding what is that dream outcome for your target market. And so one of the journeys we go on when we're understanding this and understanding the target market being that key input is remembering that nobody sells a product or a service, right? We all sell entry into a desired after state. And often when we can figure that out with our SaaS clients, that is where the penny kind of drops and the marketing really changes. So let me give you an example. We worked with a SaaS company, a big one, and they were the number one cloud software for writing a non-fiction novel or a fiction novel, right? Yes. And so it's like, yes, okay, that's very technically what you do. We surveyed their customers, thousands and thousands of people, and these two ideas kept coming back. And that was, I want to finally finish my book. I have this idea in my head. I keep stopping and starting. I can never finish my book. And we also found out they wanted to become published authors. That was like the goal, right? So It's not like, yeah, you have this awesome software, but that is just a vehicle to help them hit that dream outcome, that big transformation. And so we then reframed it to be, this is the number one cloud-based software to help ambitious authors finally release their first novel and become published. And then we could start building in more stuff on the back end for that. But that's just that way of shifting it, right? Like you need to serve your customers and you need to get obsessed with them. And there's lots of ways to do that. But hopefully that's an example to help people to see what I mean with this dream outcome.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. And when I was at Coca-Cola, it's a bit of an old term now, but we used to sell always, you sell the sizzle, not the sausage.
Yes.
And when you're a sugar in a can, you've got to be very creative around selling the desired state, right? Because no one really wants to drink sugar in a can. So, so I think that's very relatable. And like you talk about SaaS companies, and you listening here might be thinking, but Alicia, I'm only the partner of a SaaS company, right? I don't have the budgets of a SaaS company. I sort of struggle with marketing because I might be turning over $100,000 a month. Can I afford someone to come in and help me? And that's what I often hear with people is like, I just can't, I love to fix my marketing, but I can't afford it, right? So, what do you say when you hear potential clients say that to you? Or if you do, what would you say?
Yeah, well, I never get a price objection, but I understand it, right? It's like we have a limited budget, and I would just say, can you afford not to? The best product doesn't win. It's the best marketing wins, and maybe in the long term, if you've got good marketing and a crappy product, you will die out and people will catch you out. But effectively, the best product with the best marketing is what's going to win. And that's whether you're a service, that's whether you're a software, that's whether you're e-commerce, whatever it is, the best marketing will always win. And so even if you can't afford to pay somebody else, can you afford not to learn it yourself? And this is the other thing, right? Like a lot of people get confused about what sort of business they're in. We're all in the business of marketing and sales. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you're a dentist. Doesn't matter if you sell software. We're in the business of marketing and sales. And so probably the most baffling question I've had on a sales call that will always stick with me because I didn't have the perfect answer for it at the time because of my curse of knowledge was, Alicia, why do I need a funnel? And I was like, well, it helps you to build a predictable, scalable machine and blah, 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 other answer here. And after the call, I was like, wow, why was that question so annoying? Not because the person asked it, but because I didn't have the greatest answer. And it's because a funnel's not optional. So there's all these people out there that think, I'm not going to make a funnel. It's optional. But a funnel is just the touch points that somebody has with your brand or company or business, right? So that's everything from what we call the messy middle, what they find online when they Google you. That's the first call. That's the first email. That's the first landing page. It's the first piece of value. It's every single touch point. It doesn't end at acquisition. It's everything that somebody has with your brand. And all of these little touch points can be leaks, right? And these little leaks can sink big ships. And so all you need to do is just really figure out what are the touch points. That's your funnel. And you'll start to find that there's little ways to optimize, to improve revenue throughout your whole funnel.
Yeah. And you hear a lot about the customer journey, mapping the customer journey, right? So how does mapping the customer journey versus looking at your sales funnel, how do they differ, or are they one and the same?
So this is where it comes down to jargon. So I'll use Alicia jargon because I'm the guest and I'm allowed to use Alicia jargon. But so when we say buyer's journey, if anyone's in front of a computer and you want to pause this, go and look up Eugene Schwartz's 5 levels of awareness, right? And that's everything that happens right up before they buy. And that goes from unaware, like they don't even realize they have a problem, to most aware, which is where they're looking at competitors and they're deciding who to go with. The thing is, nobody wakes up and goes, I need this service. They are going on this buyer's journey, whether you want to hold their hand and help them through it or not. So a big mistake a lot of companies make is that they just focus on in-market leads or the most aware. And they forget that people have a series of problems and questions and conversations that happen in their mind that lead up to I'm ready to buy now. And that's only about 3% of the market, right? So that's when we're saying buyer's journey, that's how we think of it, is that first stage up to buying. Now, your customer experience, that's everything from the first sales call or signing up. Then that goes from activation, so making them a sale. But then there's what's the onboarding experience. People forget often the salesperson in the courting experience. It's a very beautiful thing because they offer you the moon and the stars. And then what happens is there's the time before it where the post-purchase dissonance can hit. And then there's the onboarding call. And then there's what happens after the onboarding call. Have you got the first 30, 60, 90 days of customer delight set up? How do you have a purposeful word of mouth strategy? How do you, what's your next logical step? How do you increase LTV? How do you get more revenue? How do you get referral? And that's what we call the rest of that customer or client journey on the back end.
Yeah. And just so I'm clear, does your agency do both, or do you predominantly focus on the buyer?
Yeah, the stuff at the back end is what excites me because that's where it starts to become math, right? That's where you can start to really figure out how you can make more out of each of your clients or customers, and then you can spend more to acquire them. Yeah. The more that you make from a customer, the more you can spend to acquire. And as Dan Kennedy says, those who can spend the most to acquire a customer will win at business. Yeah. So that's the stuff that is exciting, but you have to solve the biggest problem, right? The biggest leak. And that's the acquisition machine at the start. And that's what people need help with. And that's coming up with this offer, this what we call a golden hippo offer, that's going to make you stand out from a sea of absolute boringness, because we work in B2B and most people are boring. And it's standing out from that and giving people what they want to hear and entering the conversation in their mind.
Great. Well, we'll come back to that golden offer in a moment. But where does RevOps fit into all of this, right? Because there's a world of RevOps at the moment. There's a lot of jargon around it. Where does that interlink with what we've been talking about, or is that completely separate?
Well, with what we do with RevOps, it depends on the function of RevOps, right? It's so for you, for most of your listeners, how do you think they would define RevOps, or how do you think RevOps is working within their company?
Yeah, I think for most of them, it's the segue between marketing and sales, right? So that's what I'm finding is now the RevOps. It's like we're not two silos now. We're actually got one person that's looking after both of those.
Yes, exactly. And so this is important in your go-to-market, and this is important in just your general marketing. But I think what RevOps is for a lot of companies, and obviously we're a small agency, but we work with a lot of companies, and I've worked in a lot of companies. Usually it's making sure that you have a connected, integrated strategy across your marketing, sales, and customer support, and aligning the mission multiple times. So for example, when I was at Founder, which is people might notice Founder magazine, we did a lot of course launches. So even though it wasn't called RevOps, because I was the head of sales funnels and conversions and launching these new courses, that was basically my role. But I had to make sure that we understood who to market to, what do we need to operate effectively, when can we scale, and how can we grow the most. And so RevOps sometimes isn't called RevOps, but it's the person that brings all of those teams together and makes sure that they're aligned on the same mission, right?
Yes. And I'm just looking very clumsily here, but I did have Nathan Chan on the podcast, and I'm just I'll let everyone know which one shortly. But it was he was fantastic. He met Nathan a couple of times, and he's done an amazing job. And I'm sure you've got many of pleasant stories to tell about Nathan. But if we go back to the spend for a moment, and I don't want to harbour on this, but rough rule of thumb, when we used to look at businesses when we were at Coke, it was like 8%. So you should be spending about 8% of your revenue in marketing. Now, I'm thinking 8%. If you're listening to Alicia here, I'd, as a guest, think that most people don't spend anything near 8% of their marketing. What have you got as a rough rule of thumb, or is there a rough rule of thumb when you're selling high ticket B2B sales?
Yeah, remembering I come from a world of direct response and not necessarily big brands. So I work more with SMEs. And so maybe the Coca-Cola might be a little bit different to the blunt force trauma rule that I'm about to talk about. But look, if you could have a machine where you could put $1 in and get $2 out, why in the world would you cap that machine with a budget? So I honestly think marketing budgets are for people that don't know how to scale. You either have a marketing budget because you're testing, which is great. I think that you should spend 80% of your time and resources scaling what's working, making it better, fortifying it, testing new things. But you should be spending at least 20% of your budget on testing new things. And this is the problem with most businesses, right? They're scared to test and they're scared to get it wrong. They're scared to, inverted commas, for anyone only listening, waste money. They're scared to be innovative and they're scared to test new things. And so they have this budget, they restrict themselves. And it's like, if your marketing was working and you wanted to grow and you had the capability internally to facilitate growth, because sometimes you have to cap marketing because you can't fulfill, why in the world would you have a marketing budget? It makes no sense. So that's how I think about it. You have a budget for testing, but if something's working, you keep making that better and fortifying it, and you pump money into it to hit your ambitious growth goals.
Yeah, look, that's really smart. And I think, also some of the things we get is the chicken and the egg, right? Like, do I build my sales up to fund the marketing, or do I spend on marketing that's going to make sales easier, right? So, often I have that debate with myself, and a lot of other people that I talk to as clients have the same debate. What's your view on that, if you've got a view?
So I think a lot of companies are obsessed with running ads for a good reason, right? Immediate results, immediate traction. There's two things I want to talk about this. One is that people don't have their foundations right. So they don't know how to scale. So what I talk about is like they have this house and they've built it on sand and it just keeps sinking in sand and they keep putting little Band-Aids, or if you're Aussie, like some Sally's No Gap, and you're like, okay, it's kind of working. But if you just came in and you built good foundations, which is target market message, offer, positioning, you would know what to do and your whole company would be on the same page, and it makes life easier. The second thing about that is, because that's how you can't do anything until you have that. And that's why most marketing fails, because they don't want to do that unsexy side of sitting there deeply thinking about it. The second part is they're obsessed with ads. If you're not running ads yet, you do not need to run ads as the first thing. That is not the only channel strategy out there. So for our agency, in our first 8 to 10 months of business, we still haven't run any ads. And this will be small compared to a lot of what you made, but this is just 2 people, mind you. We made just shy of $500,000, not spending a single cent on ads, right? And so that was all from strategic partnerships. So that's one channel you can go after. So what we thought about was, okay, who already has spent the time and the money and the effort to capture the attention of our ideal customer and already has their trust? Because imagine that if someone, like a referral we know is really, really strong. So we worked with, as an example for us, traffic agencies. We weren't running any traffic. We solved a different problem. They didn't want their clients, going out there and seeing who else was out there with a full service agency. And it was a really good symbiotic relationship. So there's a lot of other ways to get, not even necessarily creative, just understanding that there's other channels that you don't have to spend heaps of money on to make it work.
Yeah, look, I think that's great. And, for me, I've normally got 4 ways of gaining more revenue. And it's, start with your network first, because there's always people that once you identify that target market, you look back at your network and think, oh, I've got a whole host of those that I've never spoken to in this way before, right? So there's that. So I always think, start warm with that. Then there's, your SaaS partner. So most most of you have got a SaaS partner, get to know them better to get leads. The third is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn outreach, I think there's lots of opportunity there, and we're doing amazing results there. And then there is the strategic partners, which I completely agree. So it might be a private equity company that has got 40 portfolio companies that is perfect for you if you're doing, for an example, one of my clients is selling accounting suite, which, fits in beautifully with Salesforce for those clients. But one of the hardest things I hear, and I've often seen with strategic partners, is there's this dance, right? So you start the dance and everyone's really happy and, it's going to be great. And then there's nothing happens, right? So, for you, you've been very successful in getting traction. How have you gone about getting that traction? What makes the difference between a nice first meeting to actually getting a solid strategic partner?
Yeah, the goal is you want to make it easy for them and remove the friction, right? So you want to, and this is the same as when you're creating a purposeful referral strategy with your customers. You want to, inception them so that when they're having a conversation with somebody, that script's already in there. You're like, hey, I do this and I solve this problem for these people. And people want to refer you, not for you, but for them. They want to be the person that connects you. They want to be like that connector. So if you can show that you can be that person, then they're going to naturally want to refer you because it looks good on them to connect you with the person that they want to help. Now, in our instance, how do we make that easier? So we're dealing with a lot of account managers, right? If you've ever been an account manager in an agency, that's really hard work. You're usually juggling anywhere from 10 to 100 clients, and you don't and then I'm asking them, hey, can you send me someone so I can make money? Like what? That you've got to remember. So what? Who cares what's in it for me? Everything's an offer, right? So first of all, you got to build trust and show them that you can do it. Then the second thing is we made them partnership pages. So all they have to do is when we talk to them, when it comes up in conversation, they send them this very special bespoke. We have one template and then we put their logo on it. That's why I'm being a bit sarcastic, right? And then they send that to the client, and then the client is pre-framed and educated. It comes from a trusted source, and that person, when I talk to them, is ready to buy. But I have to make it then in my due diligence as a salesperson, I have to make sure it's a good fit, because with great power comes great responsibility, right? Just because you can sell it doesn't mean you should, but they come wanting to buy from you, which totally changes the whole conversation and the whole framing of your sales call.
Yeah, look, I think that's so powerful, and that's how we've made it work. Taki Moore once, when I did a program with Taki, and you probably know Taki, was very much around, give them all the assets so it's so easy for them just to do, and you summed it up beautifully. So I agree. So if you're listening to this and you haven't succeeded in strategic partnerships, just do that, right? Just make it as easy as possible. And I always had 2 landing pages. One was for their end client, right? And then one for them, so that they could just go to a page when they're busy and it just had step-by-step exactly what they need to do. And then that links to the page that they give to the end client, and then everything's great. So you spoke about an offer, right? This golden offer. So tell us what makes up a golden offer.
So the golden hippo offer.
Hippo, sorry, I forgot the hippo bit.
I know, you forgot the buzzword, the hippo. So this is it, right? Most companies that I work with, they put up a very generic, boring landing page. Sometimes they smush all of their services onto one page. So if you're doing that, that's a big slap on the wrist, and I will come for you in your marketing dreams. But what you need to do is have one dedicated landing page that's about one product or service that you do. And then there's going to be a call to action, right? So most people have these generic call to actions that no one cares about, right? And it doesn't help you to stand out. So when we're creating this golden hippo offer, it needs to, one, show what they want to hear, not what they need to hear. So a lot of people with this curse of knowledge, they're like, oh, we do all this stuff, and they start talking about the need to hear, but save that for the sales call. Right now, you're selling the value of this phone call, and you want to show them that they're going to come off better than when they went in. So as a very simple summary, and I have a lot of videos on my YouTube that show you how to do this, or there's an awesome book by Alex Hormozi called $100 Million Offers, which kind of summarizes a lot of what has been happening in the direct response world, but very actionable book. So number one is figure out that dream outcome. What are you going to be getting them towards? Call your offer that. Then you figure out the three biggest problems that you can help them to solve on this call and show them in bullets that they're going to get that out of you. So you don't want the call, or you don't want the call to action to smell like a sales call. You don't want it to feel like I'm going to be chatting with a desperate commission breath salesperson and it's going to be really uncomfortable, right? You want to shift that frame and become more of a consultant, become more of someone who's going to provide value and make their lives better, whether they go ahead with you or not. And this is the part that a lot of businesses struggle with. It's like, oh, well, we need the money. Like, no, you need to provide people value. Then the money will come. And when you can reframe your sales from like a hardcore sales call to a diagnose, prescribe, and problem solving with value, it even just shifts the mindset of the people taking the call and will make a huge difference in your sales like culture. But that's how we think of the call is you want them to talk with you. They need to be motivated to it. You're trying to shake somebody out of inertia and say, hey, speak to a stranger on a phone. No one wants to do that. And so you have to figure out how to give them value on that phone call.
Yeah, brilliant. And if you want to see some examples, because I know Alicia practices was what she preaches, go to persuasionexperience.com and also the YouTube channel, and that link we'll have in the show notes, but it's Alicia Conlin-Hurd. You will find her in LinkedIn and YouTube. Once again, we'll put that in the notes. And look, I think it's a really good point. And like you said, I think the curse is greater with technology companies, I find. And, so therefore the upside is much greater, right? And if you are sitting here thinking, it's just not me, right? I know you might be sitting here and thinking it's just not me. Well, the great point is get someone in to help you. I've got someone working for me at the moment. I spent 18 years at Coca-Cola. I was a marketing director at a point in my career. So, once again, I don't do my own marketing, right? Because it is one of the hardest things you're ever going to do. So, get someone in to make what you've already got. You can deliver it. You do a great job. Just get someone to put a lovely bow on it on the front of it. And, Alicia's a great example of that. So, Alicia, what we're going to do is go into the deep dive, but it's more rapid fire questions that I'll ask you. So you ready for that?
Yes, let's go. The hot seat, so, Eddie McGuire, Alicia Conlin-Hurd. Let's do it.
So what are some of the sales habits that you do every day to help you grow your agency?
So for us, it's always just providing value. So I don't know if I have a habit per se, but stuff that I always want to do is Loom videos. I think they are so underrated, but every time I send a Loom video, LOOM, and I send that as a follow-up with the proposal, and because you have a little face and you can share your screen, people's minds are blown and it's a point of difference. So it's just always like, how can you remove the friction and how can you provide value? That's what I'm always about. And also, I don't take on anybody that's not a good fit. So make sure that you're diagnosing, prescribing. If you don't need to amputate somebody's arm and you can just give them a Panadol, that's what you should be trying to figure out in those sales calls.
Yeah, love that. And where do you go for more sales education yourself?
So I love listening to Zig Ziglar. That's who I grew up on. I was a salesperson long before I was a marketer. And people that are more recent, Alex Hormozi, Layla Hormozi, they are absolutely amazing. And Jeremy Miner, who runs a company called Seventh Level. They're all, and there's many, many others, but that's my fast answer.
Yeah, brilliant. Excellent. And if I could grant you one wish for your business right now, what would that be?
Do you know what? Because I heard you ask this question on other podcasts and I was like, what would my wish be? And you could wish for anything, right? Give me an extra million, give me an extra 100 clients. But one thing, because we're new to running a business, we've always been part of business and startups, but that would give you certainty. And one of the things that I've had to become good with about running a business is being creative and embracing the unknown and being okay that you'll figure things out along as you go. So I don't know, this might be like a lame answer, but it would almost feel like cheating, and I would almost feel like I didn't earn it. And so I prefer to earn it. And yeah, I probably wouldn't want to wish for anything because it would feel like I didn't earn what came to me.
Right. Great answer. Haven't had it before, and I think it's a good one, and it's unique, like your marketing should be. So the last one is, and it may be a bit related to that, but what do you know now in your business journey that you wish you had known a little earlier?
That if you just understand your target market, your marketing is easy. If you're trying to write copy, if you're trying to do anything, I bet, and it doesn't feel like it's coming naturally. And we sort of do it sometimes internally. We're creating a new product at the moment, right? And I was like, Matt, who's my co-founder, this is hard because we haven't done enough research on the target market. Like, we don't understand them enough. We don't comprehend their pain points, their hopes, their dreams, their fears, what keeps them up at night. And that's why this is hard. So if your marketing is inputs and outputs, it feels like the unsexy work. But if you do that and you truly have, some people call it an ICP or an avatar that is super detailed, and you truly know them, geez, like, your business will just become a lot easier.
Yeah. And look, everyone had heard the saying, build it and they will come, and that never works. And
build it and they will ignore it.
Correct. And just a quick example of that is the Cloud Consultants Collective, which, I started in January, and effectively I'm building the audience, and the audience is telling me what they want. And at the moment we're doing a pilot on a membership, and I said, I want 2 to 5 people. I think now I've got the problem. I've got about 50 people wanting it, because I knew what they, not to use a pun on your surname, but I heard what they really wanted, and then I've just gone and done that. I could have done anything, right? I've run memberships before, I've run communities, I've done lots of things, but there was one thing, which is they wanted a mastermind, right? And they all have said it in their different ways. And all I've offered now for the membership, paid membership, is the mastermind, where they get together themselves and work. Like,
yes,
once again, it just came from listening to my target market, building that audience. And
love it.
And if you're struggling with that at the moment, get help. Reach out to Alicia. So persuasiveexperience.com.
Persuasionexperience.com.
Sorry, Persuasion.
I know, we didn't make it easy, did we? Here's 2 words that are hard to spell sometimes and say. Go find us.
Right. Well, the link's going to be there. And also check out some of those YouTubes, especially about that golden hippo as well, which is Alicia Conlin-Hurd. You can find her on YouTube, LinkedIn as well. So, Alicia, brilliant having a fellow Melburnian on the podcast today, but also thanks for dropping a lot of value, and really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me and letting me rant about funnels and marketing. I love it.